Last time on Dragon Ball Super. After traveling to the future in order to help out Trunks, Goku and Vegeta find themselves in the midst of battle against Black. This clash of titans comes to a head when Zamasu fuses with Goku Black. The fight is fierce with no way of beating the Kaioshin. However, Kibito-shin arrives with help. In this universe, only the Super Dragon Balls are able to defuse people, and the potara is permanent for both gods and mortals. Will Goku and Vegeta risk it all for the sake of the future? The fate of the world rests with two earrings now. An unmatched fighter. What if Vegito could never defuse?
This is part 1 of a collaboration with Saiyan, another awesome YouTuber that does videos similar to my own. So after you're done with this one, head over to his channel and check out part 2. In this universe, the potara fusion was never retconned, with Vegito's first appearance being undone thanks to Boo's insides having bad air, whatever that means. But anyways, let's begin with the story. Kibito-shin turns to Goku, telling them that this is risky, but it might be the only way. Goku nodded, telling Kibito-shin that they've used the potara before. The Kaioshin sighed and explains that he didn't know how they unfused the first time, but that this time, it might actually be permanent. He went on to describe a small adventure he went on off to planet Namek in order to obtain the Dragon Balls. Once Porunga was summoned, Kibito-shin wished to be separated once more. However, this was far beyond the Namekian dragon's power. Goku and Vegeta look at each other, not knowing if this was the right move. They then turn to Bulma, who has clear pain in her eyes, but nods. Just then, they hear the pained screams of Trunks. He had been risking his life against Zamasu for far too long. In an instant, they grab Kibito-shin's potara, fusing into their most powerful weapon, Vegito. Their voices sounded off in unison, landing in front of Zamasu, ready to battle their greatest enemy yet. Zamasu mocked them for uniting as if trying to be gods, but Vegito didn't pay attention to it. He instead rushed at Zamasu, slamming his fist against the god's jaw. A great battle ensues, starting out similarly to the one we experienced in the anime. However, unlike there, Vegito lands an incredible punch against Zamasu without defusing. This sends him spinning into the building below. Though Zamasu was seemingly able to keep up with Vegito at first, it's clear now that he stands no chance. Even if Goku and Vegeta were very different individuals, as a single fusion, they turn into a cocky, powerful warrior. For this, Vegito wanted to shell out as much punishment as possible against Zamasu. Punch after punch, Zamasu starts to get desperate. His body can't take both the punishment and the clashing mortalities of his fusees. He slowly begins to deteriorate. In one last-ditch effort, Zamasu starts to swing his key sword wildly at Vegito, though he manages to hurt him some. Vegito clashes back with a small version of his spirit sword. Kibito-shin curses under his breath, and Trunks asks what's wrong. Kibito-shin explains that Vegito is toying around with Zamasu instead of finishing him off quickly. Vegito lands a barrage of kicks at Zamasu, who bursts his aura open, creating huge shockwaves throughout.
Now, no need for a temper tantrum,
Vegito says as he fires a small ki blast at Zamasu from the tip of his fingers. This shuts him up right away, allowing for Vegito to blast his spirit sword through Zamasu. Vegito smirks. He knew this was the end of Zamasu. With a swift motion of his arm, Vegito sliced through the middle of Zamasu's body, dividing him in two. However, Zamasu began to heal up and his body become two again. Vegito thought of something, going up to the sky and beginning to create a spirit bomb. Though there weren't many people to get energy from, he knew this would at least greatly damage Zamasu because of his evil core. His spirit bomb began to grow and grow, but Zamasu rushed in for an attack. Before he could reach Vegito, Trunks and Kibito-shin rushed in to protect him, though they knew they couldn't last for long. Everyone still alive gave energy to Vegito, creating a small yet strong spirit bomb. Trunks and Kibito-shin give in what they can as well. Zamasu punched Kibito-shin out of the way and broke Trunks' arm. He could finally approach Vegito, but it was too late. He already threw the spirit bomb, which consumed Zamasu whole. When the smoke clears, there is little of the god. What is left of him was destroyed by a final Kamehameha. Vegito stares at his hand for a second with a smirk. He reunites with the others, thinking about how much trouble he'll be in once Chi-Chi finds out that the fusion is permanent. They have a good laugh. Trunks thanks Vegito for his help, who shoots him a thumbs up. Just then, the ground shakes and the sky darkens. The horrid laugh of Zamasu sounds throughout the world. He had not in fact died, simply spread through the universe. Vegito told Kibito-shin to get Bulma, Mai, Trunks, and Gowazu away. He didn't know what to do, but blasting at it was not working. He tried to think and think until he realized that he had something in his pocket. Well, two things. One was a capsule car key from Vegeta, but more importantly, Goku's Zeno button. He debated with himself if he should use it, and finally decided to. In a flash of light, the little god appeared. Vegito explained what was happening, and Zeno looked at Vegito's earrings, calling him a Kaioshin by mistake. He then started to destroy the whole universe slowly. Vegito freaked out, and used the instant transmission to teleport over to Trunks, quickly getting into the time machine with him. Once they arrive back in the present, Vegito stands quietly outside of Capsule Corp. His life was about to be very interesting from now on. Very different as well. Who would get the weekends? Chi-Chi? Bulma? He would also need to find a new training partner, and now that he was his own training partner. As he thought of all of this, Chi-Chi, Trunks, and Goten rushed at him. They expected Goku and Vegeta, not this. Chi-Chi screams at Vegito as he explains what's going on, while Goten and Trunks high-five each other, calling themselves brothers. After she calms down, Chi-Chi admits that he is pretty attractive, but she's still mad that she has to share him with Bulma. Bulma screams out, "Share?" And the two get into an argument. The God of Destruction and his angel arrive, and Beerus's jaw falls open at the sight and power of Vegito. This was so much stronger than both Vegeta and Goku. Was this the legendary warrior he had looking for in order to challenge? He shook his head, and his master giggled.
Lord Beerus, looks like Goku and Vegeta working together might be an actual rival.
Beerus glares at him. Vegito turns to Trunks and tells him that they need to return into the future and talk to that Zeno. Once there, they are greeted by the smile of Zeno. Vegito tells him everything that happened, and that he's not really a Kaioshin, and that he has a surprise for him in the form of a great challenge that he would love to see, an upcoming tournament. They return to the present.
Hey kids, don't go away. We'll be right back. And now back to our show.
Vegito introduced the two Omni Kings to one another, and declares his enthusiasm for the tournament. He tried to convince them not to destroy the other universes as a result, but it didn't work. Either way, he was excited.
I'll show you little guys what the ultimate fusion is made of.
And unlike Goku, he will tell the others about the consequences of losing. But in the meantime, some time passed, and the Z Fighters said goodbye to Trunks. Vegito agreed to go back and forth between Chi-Chi and Bulma eventually agreed to build a house for Chi-Chi in case she wanted to live closer. It was a bit rough at first, but Chi-Chi got a liking for this more responsible husband, who would do some work as well as train. Bulma loved to brag that this side was Vegeta's side. However, Vegeta would often go and train at Beerus's planet, even going for a whole year. The God of Destruction was amazed by how powerful the union between the Saiyans was, and decided to spar with them a little more, as if training them. He wasn't ready for a full-on rematch just yet, however. Since Vegito is training during this time, it means Bulma actually doesn't have bra. Sorry, Brah, you're never born. This training makes Vegito very powerful, and Beerus starts to become a little worried. Will he actually be replaced like his master always warned? Vegito knows that the Tournament of Power is close, so the recruitment begins. Though most of the combatants will end up being the same, there will be a few differences. Most of this stems from the fact that Vegeta and Goku have different views on people, particularly Frieza. Though Vegito considers getting Frieza into the tournament, he ultimately decides against it. He does not trust him. Recruitment also goes somewhat different as Vegito has less patience than Goku, so he pushes Krillin a bit more into getting his fighting spirit back. The exhibition match for the tournament happens similarly to the normal one, with Gohan, Boo, and Vegito at the helm. In this case, however, Topo and Vegito's fight is a lot faster, and Topo is quickly pushed to try and power up, but he's severely hurt. In the end, the Grand Prix stops the battle, for Toppo is too hurt to continue. Since we're missing 2 combatants, Vegito decides that instead of Frieza, the best option is to train the kids so they are ready to enter. Vegeta had his doubts about the kids. Well, Goku thought they weren't ready just yet. So, as Vegito, they decide to, instead of just not letting them in the tournament, to get them ready for it. As such, Vegito enters the Room of Spirit and Time with Goten and Trunks. He teaches them to fight individually better, rather than relying on Gotenks. However, he doesn't completely dismiss the fusion dance as a powerful weapon in their arsenal. Vegito is a rougher teacher than what Goten is used to, but tamer than what Trunks is used to. The trio learn a lot together, and get stronger through this experience, with the kids even unlocking Super Saiyan 2 for themselves. Their fusion, Gotenks, is also more well developed, with some new techniques. Vegito is very proud of the kids, who already look older and much more experienced than before. Now, it's time for the tournament. In the end, Universe 7's ultimate team for the Tournament of Power consists of Krillin, Android 18, Android 17, Goten, Vegito, Trunks, Gohan, Master Roshi, Tenshinhan, and Piccolo. Vegito was sure, with this team, there ain't no way they lose. But that's everything for part 1 of What If Fusion Was Never Retconned. Be sure to head over to Salad Saiyan's channel to check out part 2, The Tournament of Power. With this portion of the scenario complete, I'll pass it over to Salad for the remaining of the story. I hope you guys are enjoying it.
Thanks for the smooth transition. I'll pick up the story from here. We left off with the inclusion of 2 new members on the team, Goten and Trunks. So as for now, the team consists of mostly the same members, except Goku, Vegeta, and Frieza are replaced with Vegito, Goten, and Trunks. After the training with Goten and Trunks covered in the last part, everyone meets up with Vegito and gets transported to the world of Void. Besides Vegito, Goten, and Trunks, no one else has really changed in terms of their power. They got pretty much the same training here. Everyone is really surprised to see the fighters at the tournament, but Vegito isn't really too interested in anyone besides Jiren. Not only is Universe 7 feeling intrigued, but other people do as well. The Kais and the gods of the other universes are keen to notice the earrings that Vegito has, and they find out that he fused with the Potara. The Saiyans of Universe 6 also pick up on this, surprised to see that someone else has Potara, with Kaba and Hit especially surprised to see the fusion of Goku and Kaba's master Vegeta. Without further ado, the tournament begins, and Universe 7 does pretty much as well as they did in the original story. Vegito is tempted to go for Jiren right away, but he decides to test his power first to see how strong everyone else is. For the first few minutes of the tournament, Vegito is off on his own, occasionally helping his team, but he doesn't really even go out of base form, he doesn't need to. He pretty much solo eliminates Universe 9, and Universe 10 also gets eliminated much earlier than normal due to Vegito's help, drawing all attention on Universe 7's new fighter. With no Frieza either, Frost is all alone and never takes out Krillin right away. Once he encounters Gohan like normal, Gohan's with Goten and the two of them actually handle the villain pretty easily. Proud to see that his brother has accessed Super Saiyan 2, Gohan wants Goten to join him in his fights, and they first team up together here to take down Frost. With one massive Brotherhood Kamehameha, they take Frost out pretty easily. With the brief fights that he got in, Vegito now sees where everyone else is in terms of power, and he has no need to worry. The rest of his team should be able to handle it. Vegito has a different goal. The lone warrior from Universe 11, Jiren, piques his interest. He goes straight for Jiren right now, with everyone momentarily stopping as these two begin to fight. Base Vegito isn't able to do much to Jiren, but he does way more than Goku did even with Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken. Vegito powers up to Super Saiyan, and the fight actually begins to get interesting. Jiren is still heavily suppressed, but is surprised to see Vegito is actually putting up a decent fight. Vegito escalates it further, going Super Saiyan 2, as Jiren gets a little more into the fight. But Vegito isn't pleased yet. He can tell Jiren is still holding back. Alright, let's get a little more serious. Everyone else in the tournament is alerted by Vegito's increase in power, with Jiren and Belmod actually being fazed by someone else's power for the first time in a while. A glorious blue light floods the world of Void, showering the fused Saiyan in a new divine aura. Vegito has powered up to Vegito Blue once again, and the fight gets somewhat serious now. Jiren is still suppressed, but is actually putting in an effort now. The Titans clash with each other as the rest of the contenders attempt to fight for their universes, trying not to be distracted by the enormous power felt through the ring. Roshi gets eliminated in a similar fashion to how he was originally, and due to Frost not making him waste time and energy, he doesn't end up in as bad of a shape as he was in the actual tournament. Universe 4's tricky fighters are able to take out Krillin and 18 before they're spotted, but after being spotted, Universe 4 falls as well. Universes 2 and 6's numbers are dwindling, and eventually the second falls. Hit remains in the battle, however, and through the use of his time skip and seeing through Dispo's movements, he disposes of the Pride Trooper pretty easily, no pun intended. Topo proves to be a much more challenging foe for the assassin, yet he's able to prevail, only barely. Having spent most of his stamina, Hit is nearing his defeat, and is ultimately taken out by a combined effort from Gohan, Goten, Trunks, and Piccolo. As a last stand, Universe 3's warriors begin fusing into Aniraza. At the same time, Hit's defeat in Aniraza's debut causes Kale and Kefla to do something rash. They fuse to see if they can emulate the power Vegito is showing off. The fusion of these two are strong, yet doesn't hold a candle to the fusion from the 7th, and as Universe 6's last fighter, Kefla begins her assault. And just like Vegito, this is a permanent fusion as well. As soon as Aniraza is formed, he's gone. He was facing the warriors of Universe 7, and without noticing, is taken out by Kefla. Kefla is now up against the warriors of Universe 7. The battle between Vegito and Jiren rages on, as all of Universe 7's other fighters must face this female fusion. Gohan, Piccolo, 17, Tien, Goten, and Trunks are all tasked with defeating Kefla. Though they argue against it, Goten and Trunks fuse into Gotenks, being influenced by the presence of 2 other fusions. And while they actually have one last fighter now, it helps. The power of Gotenks allows the 2 kids to actually damage Kefla somewhat, much more than they would have been able to unfused. Kefla also has a different level of power here. Kale hasn't raged out during this tournament and broken her limits, nor has she gained control of that anger, meaning Kefla is actually weaker by extension and not using all of that underlying power. She's still in Super Saiyan 2, but not that kind of special Super Saiyan 2 that she had where her hair was green. It's basically the kind of Super Saiyan 2 Kefla had. Nonetheless, she's still pretty strong, but she's defeated by unorthodox means. 17 and Gotenks try to restrict her movements through the use of barriers and galactic donuts, while Gohan, Piccolo, and Tien do the fighting. Piccolo and Tien split themselves up to confuse Kefla even further, with Gohan being the main attacker here while they act as support. This combined effort overwhelms Kefla. Universe 7 loses Tien and Piccolo in this battle, but with the efforts of Gotenks, 17, and Gohan, Kefla is ultimately eliminated, along with her universe. Now, Gohan, Gotenks, and 17 are alone, observing the 2 other warriors continue their battle. This tournament is now between Universe 11's last fighter, as he faces Vegito. Jiren is starting to get annoyed of Vegito, and after being pushed to his breaking point, he finally shows off his full power. After feeling this power, even Vegito can't feign a cocky demeanor. Vegito begins to lose a lot of ground here, and decides he now has to try and turn the tables and break his own limits. Over the extensive training he did with Beerus, and the time he spent in the time chamber, Vegito found something deeper within himself that was beyond the power of Super Saiyan Blue. Vegito was still holding back a bit here, but mainly out of fear that his new power would end up failing him. Sure, he could try out Kaioken, but with the stamina drain, it's not really worth it. He has something else up his sleeve. Not knowing if it'll actually work, Vegito ends up taking the risk and he powers up once again. Not intimidated, Jiren stands back and lets him power up. A blue light shimmers through the arena once again, but this time, it takes on a much deeper bluish color with a more intense aura. Vegito's muscles begin to swell, his hair stands firmer, and the color around him darkens. After another explosion of light, Vegito reveals this new form that he kept secret. Being pushed to his limits by Jiren, and after all the rigorous training from before the tournament, Vegito unveils this new power, Super Saiyan Blue Evolution. The gods and Universe 7's fighters can't help but express shock, not knowing that Vegito had this further power. But will it be enough to defeat Jiren? Well, time for some hypothetical power scaling. Keep in mind, this is all hypothetical. This Vegito we're talking about had 2 years of training, one with Beerus and Whis, and one in the time chamber, and has grown stronger as Vegito rather than Goku and Vegeta separately. The Vegito Blue we saw earlier in the tournament was immensely powerful, stronger than we've seen from any incarnation of Vegito or Gogeta from the main series, or Goku and Vegeta by extension. On top of that, he now has Blue Evolution, so this Vegito Blue Evolution is much stronger than we could even begin to fathom. The big thing here is that it took a mastered Ultra Instinct Goku to actually face full power Jiren. So can Vegito even compete here? Well, I'd actually say yes. The intense training, the new transformation, the limit-breaking power of the Saiyans, and the power of fusions all work together and create a deadly concoction known as Vegito, a being that Jiren can't even overcome easily. The fight gets much more intense, explosions ring throughout the world of Void, and it feels as if this whole realm is shaking. Every god witnessing this is speechless, as are all the fighters in the arena and the stands. Every punch, every attack that connects, creates a shockwave that is felt throughout the Void. It's a hard-fought battle, and the other fighters Universe 7 provides some support, yet much of the support doesn't help too much. Ghost kamikaze attacks from Gotenks, barrages of ki from 17, and volleys of energy from Gohan. They provide whatever support they can as the battle rages on, yet Vegito is obviously the one doing the most damage. Jiren is getting a little ticked off by these attacks, and he just shakes them off. Eventually, Jiren jumps back and tries to finish it. With an overwhelming heat emanating through the arena, Jiren begins to charge a massive blast. And in response, Vegito does the same and cups his hands. Two voices cry out at once.
Final Kamehameha!
The two gigantic blasts connect, the power of which is too much for the ring to handle. A magnificent explosion engulfs the arena, powerful enough to launch everyone away. Experiencing most of the impact, Vegito and Jiren are flung off the ring. And even if they did manage to stand still, the ring was shattered into dust which no one could stand on. In the stands, Vegito and Jiren appear. Following them, 17 and Gohan appear. 17 attempted to shield himself from the blast, but it was too much, and he and Gohan both got flung off as well. Wait, does that mean everyone's eliminated? Not quite. In the ring, or at least what's left of the ring, a single hand hangs from the rock. Pulling himself up, it's revealed that the final remaining fighter is Gotenks. Wait, Gotenks? Covered in dust and scratches, Gotenks throws up a peace sign on that small rock that he's standing on, feeling triumphant. Yet as soon as he does that, he forcefully defuses, ruining the moment for him. Well, it's kinda weird now. Technically, Gotenks is the MVP, but since they defused, who gets to make the wish? Well, the Grand Priest and Zeno don't actually know what to do in this situation, so instead, Goten and Trunks decide to agree on a wish. Trunks, already living with one of the most wealthy families in the world, has nothing to wish for. Goten also doesn't really have anything he desires, and since he's pure of heart, he suggests the idea of a selfless wish, one that would restore all of the universes. Trunks agrees to this notion, and the two of them request it to the Grand Priest. The Grand Priest can't help but smile, happy to know that the outcome of this tournament was as Zeno intended, and these two boys helped. Every universe is restored, and that's the end of this arc. Vegito still remains fused for the moment. Potentially, the story could be continued in the future. He still needs to deal with this, or maybe not. As for the Broly movie, well, without Frieza, there is none. As for Moro, that arc is incomplete as of now, so there's no point in moving ahead into it just yet since we don't really know what's going to go on. So for now, this is where the story will leave off. If you haven't already, be sure to check out part 1 on SmugStick's channel. It was pretty cool to work on this, and he has some great videos, so I recommend checking him out. But now, I want to hear your thoughts. So what did you think about this what if? How do you think it would have happened? Comment your thoughts below, and let's see what everyone thinks. As always, if you liked the video, remember to drop a like. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon for notifications about any other videos I make like this. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.